Pricing streets and roads. If, in contrast, we examine the performance of governmental streets and highways in America, it is difficult to see how private ownership could pile up a more inefficient or irrational record. It is now widely recognized, for example, that federal and state governments, spurred by the lobbying of automobile companies, oil companies, tire companies, and construction contractors and unions, have indulged in a vast overexpansion of highways. The highways grant gross subsidies to the users and have played the major role in killing railroads as a viable enterprise. Thus, trucks can operate on a right-of-way constructed and maintained by the taxpayer, while railroads had to build and maintain their own trackage. Furthermore, the subsidized highway and road programs led to an overexpansion of automobile-using suburbs, the coerced bulldozing of countless homes and businesses, and an artificial burdening of the central cities. The cost to the taxpayer and to the economy has been enormous. Particularly subsidized has been the urban auto-using commuter, and it is precisely in the cities where traffic congestion has burgeoned along with this subsidy to overaccumulation of their traffic. Professor William Vickery of Columbia University has estimated that urban expressways have been built at a cost of from 6 cents to 27 cents per vehicle mile, while users pay in gasoline and other auto taxes only about 1 cent per vehicle mile. The general taxpayer, rather than the motorist, pays for maintenance of urban streets. Furthermore, the gasoline tax is paid per mile, regardless of the particular street or highway being used, and regardless of the time of day of the ride. Hence, when highways are financed from the general gasoline tax fund, the users of the low-cost rural highways are being taxed in order to subsidize the users of the far higher-cost urban expressways. Rural highways typically cost only 2 cents per vehicle mile to build and maintain. In addition, the gasoline tax is scarcely a rational pricing system for the use of the roads, and no private firms would ever price the use of roads in that way. Private business prices its goods and services to clear the market, so that supply equals demand, and there are neither shortages nor goods going unsold. The fact that gasoline taxes are paid per mile, regardless of the road, means that the more highly demanded urban streets and highways are facing a situation where the price charged is far below the free market price. The result is enormous and aggravated traffic congestion on the heavily traveled streets and roads, especially in rush hours, and a virtually unused network of roads in rural areas. A rational pricing system would at the same time maximize profits for road owners and always provide clear streets free of congestion. In the current system, the government holds the price to users of congested roads extremely low and far below the free market price. The result is a chronic shortage of road space reflected in traffic congestion. The government has invariably tried to meet this growing problem, not by rational pricing, but by building still more roads, socking the taxpayer for yet greater subsidies to drivers, and thereby making the shortage still worse. Frantically increasing the supply while holding the price of use far below the market simply leads to chronic and aggravated congestion. It is like a dog chasing a mechanical rabbit. Thus, the Washington Post has traced the impact of the federal highway program in the nation's capital. Washington's Capital Beltway was one of the first major links in the system to be completed. When the last section was opened in the summer of 1964, it was hailed as one of the finest highways ever built. It was expected to A. relieve traffic congestion in downtown Washington by providing a bypass for north-south traffic, and B. knit together the suburban counties and cities ringing the capital. What the Beltway actually became was A. a commuter highway and local traffic circulator, and B. the cause of an enormous building boom that accelerated the flight of the white and the affluent from the central city. Instead of relieving traffic congestion, the Beltway has increased it. Along with I-95, 70 South, and I-66, it has made it possible for commuters to move farther and farther from their downtown jobs. It has also led to relocation of government agencies and retail and service firms from downtown to the suburbs, putting the jobs they create out of reach of many inner-city dwellers. What would a rational pricing system, a system instituted by private road owners, look like? In the first place, highways would charge tolls, especially at such convenient entrances to cities as bridges and tunnels, but not as is charged now. For example, toll charges would be much higher at rush hour and other peak hour traffic, for example, Sundays in the summer, than in off hours. In a free market, the greater demand at peak hours would lead to higher toll charges, until congestion would be eliminated and the flow of traffic steady. But people have to go to work, the reader will ask. Surely, but they don't have to go in their own cars. Some commuters will give up altogether and move back to the city. Others will go in carpools. Still others will ride in express buses or trains. In this way, use of the roads at peak hours would be restricted to those most willing to pay the market-clearing price for their use. Others, too, will endeavor to shift their times of work so as to come in and leave at staggered hours. Weekenders would also drive less or stagger their hours. Finally, the higher profits to be earned from, say, bridges and tunnels will lead private firms to build more of them. Road building will be governed not by the clamor of pressure groups and users for subsidies, but by the efficient demand and cost calculations of the marketplace. While many people can envision the working of private highways, they boggle at the thought of private urban streets. How would they be priced? Would there be toll gates at every block? Obviously not, for such a system would be clearly uneconomic, prohibitively costly to the owner and driver alike. In the first place, the street owners will price parking far more rationally than at present. They will price parking on congested downtown streets very heavily in response to the enormous demand. And contrary to common practice nowadays, they will charge proportionately far more rather than less for longer all-day parking. In short, the street owners will try to induce rapid turnover in the congested areas. All right for parking. Again, this is readily understandable. But what about driving on congested urban streets? How could this be priced? There are numerous possible ways. In the first place, the downtown street owners might require anyone driving on their streets to buy a license, which could be displayed on the car as licenses and stickers are now. But furthermore, they might require anyone driving at peak hours to buy and display an extra, very costly license. Professor Vickery has also suggested that TV cameras at the intersections of the most congested streets could record the license numbers of all cars, with motorists sent a bill each month in proportion to all the times that they crossed the intersection. Alternatively, he proposed that each car could be equipped with the Oxford electronic metering device. Each car would then emit its own unique signal, which would be picked up by the device placed at the given intersection. In any case, the problem of rational pricing for streets and highways would be an easy one for private enterprise and modern technology to solve. Businessmen on the free market have readily solved far more difficult problems. All that is needed is to allow them the room to function.